Hello and welcome back. My name is Ajay Naik,
And I'm Manas Supriyadarshi.
and you are watching UI5 CN webinar. So this is Project Core webinar, and in this Project Core, this is the first prerequisite live where we have already built first set of prerequisite technologies
Yeah.
you will be working for. Yeah. So I think this is very exciting because it took a lot of time for us to create the prerequisite because this time we want to make the quality of the videos to the best we can, and the tech stack is actually challenging to learn.
Yes.
So that took a lot of time for us to really shoot everything and make it available, and the prerequisite one is live. We will be discussing what is covered within it and how you should be taking advantage for the prerequisite.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and we understand in details about the project core, and then we will see how you should really start developing or start the coding part of it. And then if you're facing some other challenges in the basics, maybe it can be JavaScript basics or UI5 basics or Python basics or Spark or HANA, any basics. And those are things we cover in the prerequisite.
Yes.
Once you have a solid or little bit okay foundation where you will be when you are exposed to technologies for working, then that is a time where the load of the project will start.
Exactly. Because the basics should be strong to follow along with all the videos that we are going to make. And since these technologies are so huge, because getting too deep into the basics would not be possible once we start creating the project. So we thought, if you might not be familiar with any of the technologies, then it should not be a bottleneck for you to learn those courses. So if you want to learn Spark with Python and you have no experience in Python, then it should not be a bottleneck for you to learn Spark. So we have created this prerequisite courses. So we have created JavaScript, UI5, D3JS, and Python. So you'll be getting access to them this week, and this week is going to be all about prerequisites. And starting next week, we are going to go for design and
Development.
architecture.
Yeah.
Yes.
So once we look into the architecture, because this is the diagram where we will be referring a lot of time. So what normally in a project is done is if there are two separate entities which is normally connected with the API, or two different separate entity where the tech stacks are a little different, and those development we call it phases.
Yeah.
So as you can see, this is entire use case where the left hand side is a tech stack or a application which is to be used by the account manager or the
Yeah.
marketing manager of the e-commerce side, and the right hand side is the application which is to be used by your production manager,
Yes.
which is handling the delivery or enterprise production. So those are two separate application, and tech stack is also separate. So normally these are referred to as a separate phases. If we name it the phase one to the marketing managers work, and phase two as the production managers, ERP system in HANA and UI5, then these are very easy to refer to. And when you are working, and then you can say, okay, phase one development, I have done this.
Yes.
Phase two development, I'm stuck in this part. So much easy to really understand those terms. So in a way, we have divided the entire project core into two parts,
Two
phase one
phases.
and phase two. Phase one will be handled by Mansvi, and then phase two will be handled by me.
Yeah.
So now those two phases will be actually moving parallelly when we are going to develop. This week, I think mostly, as you already said, we are working on the prerequisite, where we will be working on the orange part which you have.
Yes.
We are seeing there.
The ones
It's,
highlighted in the
Yeah.
orange.
correct.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the UI development, so what we want you to get a hold on is JavaScript, because
Yes.
it is something which we will be very prominently using. We talk about the D3JS and AngularJS development, or you talk of Open UI5 or SAP UI5 development. Most of them will be utilizing JavaScript.
Yes, and the thing is, there has been some separation in the standards that are being followed by those languages. So D3 and UI5 are currently working with ES5 standard, but Angular has moved on to a superset of ES6 standard, that's TypeScript. So we'll be seeing more about TypeScript in the course itself, but you need to have a basic understanding of ES6 too. So in this prerequisite course that we have created, I have covered both ES5 and ES6. Regarding ES5, the major things that I have covered are the basic variables, the kind of data types that JavaScript provides us with, the kind of functions we can use on those data types. We have talked about arrays, objects, which we will be using most predominantly. And then how do we use JavaScript to change our HTML DOM, to manipulate that. I have talked about that too. And then I have moved on to ES6, and I have talked about what's in addition to ES5 that's there in ES6 that's new, and we will be using mostly in developing the Angular app.
Yeah, so ES5 is something which is a version of JavaScript, and ES5 is utilized by UI5 end, and ES6 is something which will be utilized by Angular end. And we are using Angular 4 here, and Angular 4 is the new framework which is made live by Google, and then the advantage it gives you is the components are very responsive, completely responsive, and it's a very simple and lightweight library which you can actually.
It's a framework actually.
Yeah, it's a framework.
It's a framework.
Yeah, and then framework contains the components as well.
Framework contains the components, and it makes the development cycle very easy once you are able to follow all the components inside it.
True. So this framework is lightweight framework. When you are using in the application, you need something which loads very fast.
Yes.
So it should be made when we talk about an enterprise application to be delivered and a application which is to be delivered to consumer end, then the consumer end application should be best, because people who don't know you, they will judge you from your application. True. And then your application should be the best it can. So we are using Angular 4 here, which is lightweight framework and it also has library components. And that utilizes ES6. So you need to get a refresher about ES6 if you are not aware about it.
It's a bit different from ES5. So I would say if you haven't had any experience with ES6, then you should go through the ES6 part at least if you have experience with JavaScript. So that would be much easier for you to grasp the Angular concepts.
True. And from UI5 side, this time we are going to use XML views. So this is something which is was something which we were having a lot of questions that the JavaScript is something which people use in controller, but in the views we are having XML views.
Yes.
And that has been taken into consideration. This time the entire application will be made with XML views.
I think we were getting a lot of queries that like we should also be covering the XML views, not just the JavaScript views. So we have gone ahead and dived into the XML views too, and we will be creating this specific project using XML views.
So the XML views has been covered. One thing which you will also find in this prerequisite training, which is already made live in the Project C.O.R.E, is that I have shot some of the ways also how a developer should think before creating any development work in UI5.
Yeah, that is one of the most important things before starting a project, and we have taken that into consideration, and he has shot all those videos, and you'll be getting access to them as we go along the weeks.
Yeah, in a few seconds we will be also showing you all the videos which is actually made live. Before that, I'm just kind of highlighting how the mindset should be in the Project C.O.R.E, because we are mostly working on a project here. The learning of video based should be project based. So that is our motto, and in this way, the mindset of anyone who is developing the application should be as he's similar to delivering to a customer. So if you're delivering to a customer, then your focus is on the features and feasibility before starting any development, and that is
Yeah.
exactly what we have covered in the UI5 as well. We are just mapping the user experience which we finalized for the application, and we are thinking how we can create those user experience,
Yeah.
some of the pre-checks which is done in the projects, to see if those are something which you can build or are available and there is no bottleneck.
Yeah.
Once there is no bottleneck present, then you start going for the development environment setup and start the development.
Yeah.
Before that, there is a lot of groundwork to be done.
True.
If you are a developer, you might not be aware about it because those are done by normally architects
Yeah.
and solution architect or team leads. But this is something which has to be also done, because what can happen is if I'm doing my development and suddenly I realize there is a feature which is not possible
Yeah.
with the current library version. If I would have taken a version up or down, it would have been possible, and then that can be a major issue sometime, because then you have wasted a lot of time there, and you should have taken those decisions on initial phases.
Yes.
So those critical things or the groundwork is an important part which is done by senior developers sometimes, or maybe architect or analyst, not the analyst but architect and team leads. And those are some of the activities which are involved or shot in the prerequisite videos as well. After the UI5 development prerequisite, we also showed D3JS, because
D3JS.
what I think is D3JS is little challenging to learn. It's not as easy like
Yeah, it's not
any
that
other.
straightforward.
True, true.
Yeah.
Once you are aware about the SVG and the concept of SVG, then it becomes very easy to catch up D3JS and you start to work on it.
Yes.
But till that time, I think you have to get a little comfortable. So maybe I can share the screen. You can show some of the codes which we actually made. So
Yes.
yeah, so this is a basic SVG element rendering which you will be seeing in the project core
Yeah.
for the prerequisite. And then we also showed you how to basically use this to create circle. The main idea is this circle will be then
Nodes of the graph.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the circle will be then made into nodes. And what we are trying to do here is we are trying to make the individual very basic part of the project. And once that basic part is made, then we are trying to increase the
Yeah.
complexity around that basic part. So if I will show you the UI of the graph, maybe I think we have that in the home page. So if you go into here, yeah.
Which one? Okay.
Yeah. So if you go in the project core, yeah.
Okay. So there are multiple ways you can go to Project C.O.R.E. If you go to the home page of ui5cn.com, you will see it in the first or the second position. Or you can just go to all courses and live project and you'll get access to Project C.O.R.E. course. So you can go there. So
Yeah. So basically, if you see this smart application, the dashboard, yeah.
yeah.
So it is very small. When you are creating the graph, maybe I can share this in my slides because these are present and more visible here as well.
Yeah.
So as you can see here, the graph which is being given here is actually representing the entire product catalogs and the connection between those. And this graph is basically made with D3JS,
Yes.
which you will be actually making. And the very sub component of it is actually the circle and the links and the text on top of the circle. So yeah, can I share the screen to the wireframe?
Yes.
So this is the second phase of wireframe development, which will be covered in the next part. But before that,
Yeah, zoom a bit more.
yeah, I think this is enough. The zoom in is enough, yeah.
Yeah.
So as you can see, these are the sub parts of the UI development, which should be developed initially, and then on top of that, you start to add complexity.
Yes.
So first you say, can I have a basic background, and then can I have a circle there?
Yeah.
Can I use now the force layout? Now
Yeah.
can I connect the circle? Can I have a graph label? Can I have the diameter change with the product ranking?
Yeah.
Can I have the link explored?
And
So-
if I click on the link, then can I have some kind of a pop-up or some kind of an action that shows me some details about those nodes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. So this is the iterative process where you start from the very minimalistic code, and then
Yeah.
you start to add things on top of it, and like no, over time you will have at the end entire data visualization of the graph made.
Yeah.
And this is exactly the way which we will be also working on, because this is the way you do in the project. You start with a minimalistic thing which you are confident about, or you are able to do,
Yes.
and then over top of it you start to add more things
complexities.
until you reach to something which is deliverable to customers.
Yeah.
So those videos has been also made live. I think you can share the screen on the platform as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one.
So I think, yeah, in the week 0 we are calling it week 0.
Yeah, we
The
are calling it
prerequisite.
week 0 because, yeah, week 0 prerequisite. And as you can see, we have introduction, JavaScript, tools required, variables, data types, operators.
This is ES6 and
strings.
ES5. Yeah.
This is ES5.
Yeah.
First, I have completed ES5 and then I have gone to tell what's new in ES6.
True.
Yeah.
And in between also there is a discuss forum which we have integrated. If you are getting any questions while you are actually performing those activity, then you should or you can come back to us and say, okay, we are having this issue.
Yes.
In the next week and in the subsequent week, we will be actually giving you access to entire virtual machine, which is having the entire Hadoop and Spark setup.
Yes.
And we will let you know how to create your own HANA instance, which you can have access anytime
Yeah,
in
we'll be
AWS.
spinning it up on AWS, and as you can see,
Giving the accesses as well. It's a free access for you. You only get a very minimalistic cost, which is about $5 for entire month.
$5 for a month. I
Yeah,
guess.
true.
No, $5 for a day.
Yeah, true. $5 for a day. So this is something which is very easy to do, and all the steps will be covered in the coming prerequisite section itself.
Yes.
And once we have the prerequisite set, then the development activity will start very fast.
True.
And a lot of learning is to be done. For the first week, our motto is to start slow and understand the basics of the things, on top of which we will be building the entire project.
Yeah, we'll be picking up the pace once we have got comfortable with all the tools, and we know that we don't need to go over the basics. We just need to go ahead and say what logic needs to be applied there to solve a specific kind of a problem.
True.
So that's how we'll be going, and yeah, we hope you enjoy it and you learn a lot from it.
Yeah, so in the next week, I think we will be majorly working on the back-end development. And back-end development prerequisite section will be live, where we will be setting the system of
Yeah.
Spark, Hadoop, and SAP HANA as well, and creating the basic tables and some of the Python coding development.
True.
And all these things will really start to speed up on the week 1 or 2.
Yes.
Before that, you can refer to your friend as well and try to enroll them in the project core, because it's a real deal now.
Yeah.
Because the application which we are making is really scalable, and it can worth in millions if you deliver to enterprise with the proper licensing in your hand.
Yes.
So it is of value, and these are the prerequisite sections which are already made live, and you can start building your application with us. And if you find any queries and questions, you can come back to us.
Yeah.
So I think that is a short webinar. This time it was a short webinar, and you can hang on.
We'll see you in Project C.O.R.E.
Yeah, we'll see you in the project core. And till this time, any questions, you come back to us at contact@uffc.com
Yeah,
or
or
admin@ufffc.com. So let's catch up in the next webinar.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.